I am Loki of Asgard.
What's going on, guys? I'm Chris. Welcome back to another video. We got a new MCU show. You might have heard of it. It's called Loki. We did a live watch party. Definitely check it out. It was a lot of fun. It felt good to have a new MCU show back. But we're going to give you guys our spoiler review, just like we did with the other Marvel shows. So, spoilers for episode 1 of Loki in 3, 2, 1. Cam, how you feeling? What'd you think?
Best premiere of the Disney Plus show so far.
Easily the best first episode of a show. And personally, my favorite episode of any of the Marvel shows. Had a feeling it would open with right where we left off in Endgame, and it did, and I just felt good knowing I predicted that. I'm sure it's not too hard to predict, but it was a nice feeling to see Tony Stark and Thor and all these characters in Loki, because we never saw these characters in the other shows. And granted, yes, we had already seen them in Endgame. It was a reuse of the same scene, but I still really dug that opening. And I'm fully prepared for Mobius and Loki to be one of my new favorite MCU duos.
I really like the dynamic between Loki and Mobius, like a lot. Towards the beginning, they established solving like a crime mystery type thing with Owen Wilson's character, which I really like, giving me very much Criminal Minds vibes, which I enjoy.
For sure, and I think that's where the show's headed down the road, is they're going to be solving a crime throughout, and that's a reason that I'm really interested in it, because that's just a genre that I like. The score for the show is absolute heat. I mean, there were Tenet vibes, Game of Thrones vibes, all around. It just created this ominous vibe that added to the overall show. Best score in the MCU shows. Do you agree?
Yeah. The other two didn't really even have
The Falcon Winter Soldier had it was reminiscent of some of the Captain America themes, but not really.
Yeah.
When it comes to the story itself, we learn a lot about the TVA, the Time Variant Authority, Time Variance, Variant, whatever. And it's hard to fully wrap my brain around. It's almost like if you think about the Matrix, like living in a simulation, or if you think about even in Infinity War and Endgame when Doctor Strange is talking about how time works. It's hard for us humans to really wrap our brain around infinite time and like time loops and all this different stuff.
I see people argue about like the time travel and timeline like of Endgame so much, and I'm like, it's really honestly pointless to like go so deep into it when it's fictional.
Exactly.
And you don't know all the rules of it. Like, I can tell you something about time travel and you can't be like, no, that's not how it works, because it's not real.
We saw the Infinity Stones don't even have power in the TVA, and time works completely differently. So that right there is just like, okay, there's some serious crap that's going to go down. And then we get probably the best scene in the entire thing. It's a pretty long sequence, actually, where Mobius and Loki are in a room, and we see Loki watch his mother die.
Yeah.
And that was a really gut-wrenching moment for him, and his acting is phenomenal. And of course, he sees his future play out, the future where he ultimately gets killed by Thanos. And again, Tom Hiddleston's acting there is top-notch.
Really
best
good.
Performance, best he's been in the MCU, I'd say.
Yeah, it's because they actually gave him something besides being evil. Further proof, I think, that side characters in the MCU are some of the best actors.
Absolutely. And they don't get their time to shine enough. And I'm glad that we've seen that in all 3 shows, you know?
Yeah.
All 3 shows have fleshed out side characters. And again, Loki going into the show is a character I don't really love. He's this villain, a little pest, I call him, that I want to flick off my shoulder. And they really kind of humanized him already. Throughout the episode, we see Mobius talking about how, do you enjoy this? Do you enjoy, like, killing? And then we see later on in the episode, he's like, not really. I just feel like it is an instrument to create fear, and which could lead to power even, but he doesn't really take joy in killing. So
which is good to know.
Yeah, he's not a total psychopath.
Yeah.
I think it sets up a lot of mystery moving forward, and it just worked from start to finish. They jumped right into the story. No time was wasted. A lot to dive into with the TVA moving forward. It's, again, just a super intriguing organization.
It sets up early on in the show that Mobius is like hunting down this one variant that's killing a lot of their like Minutemen units. Like, they send out their TVA units and they always end up dead. When we see Loki get put on trial, Mobius is like, maybe I could use Loki to help. And so the whole episode is basically Mobius trying to like understand Loki a little bit more. He's like, I'm gonna need your help, but Loki's like not obeying. He's very defiant. And then eventually, more towards the end of the episode, Loki gets to a point where he sees like a whole drawer of like Infinity Stones. The dude that he's with, Casey, like explains like, oh yeah, we get a bunch of those in here. It happens all the time. Loki kind of realizes then like this TVA thing's real. Like, genuinely, this power is like way greater than mine. After he watches like all like his whole future and stuff, he realizes that he's dead in his future timeline. So there's Mobius, and then there's this other girl. She doesn't have a name yet, I don't think. Like, this main like TVA girl like wants to reset Loki, like reset him back into his timeline. Mobius wants to keep Loki out of the timeline to use him to help him. And when Loki sees his whole future, he's like, I die, I don't really want to be reset. I don't want to be sent back there, because if I get sent back, I'm dying. So he kind of realizes, he's like, all right, I'm gonna help, because that's what'll keep me alive.
And we see this sort of cliffhanger ending where Mobius is going to be asking Loki for help to try and find this variant.
Mobius says to Loki, like, the variant we're hunting is you. And then we see that whole clip of someone in a hooded figure killing a bunch of people. But there's no way it's gonna be Tom Hiddleston, because like that's a lot.
Yeah.
I think it's going to be Lady Loki, because Lady Loki is just Loki from a different universe.
For sure. So overall, this episode was my favorite of all the Marvel Disney Plus shows, like I said. A lot set up. I'm excited to see episode 2. I know a bunch of people have already seen it. I'm jealous of you guys if you have seen it, if you're watching this. But I can't wait to tune in every week. Again, solid across the board.
Yeah.
Can't wait for next week. Definitely stay tuned for an episode 2 review and watch party, and subscribe to all of Cam's channels, follow her on all social media. All that is linked down below. Thank you all for watching. Subscribe if you haven't. Until next time. See you guys later.